What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Roll on the Bottom podcast. I'm your host, Zach Moyer. Hope you are doing well whenever you are listening to this one. Corey Heim is your 2025 Craftsman Truck Series champion. We're doing a special podcast. We're going to be doing a podcast today, Friday, for the Craftsman Truck Series Championship. We're going to do a podcast tomorrow for the Xfinity Series Championship, and then we'll do a dedicated podcast for the Cup Series Championship. And the nice thing about doing it when the race happens is my thoughts are very fresh. I can really get a nice, good breakdown of everything that happened. But like we always like to do, we'll talk about the driver who won. Corey Heim is your 2025 Craftsman Truck Series champion. He officially wrapped up with a 12-win season. 12-win season, a dozen wins. Let's just see. Corey Heim is a 2025 Craftsman Truck Series champion, capping off a record-breaking season. Winningest season in history, 12 wins. The most top fives ever in a season, 19. The most laps led in a season, 1,627 laps led. First driver in NASCAR National Series to lead a lap in every race in a season. Corey Heim led at least one lap in every race this season. First driver to ever do that. The dude just shocked the world. And I wouldn't say he really shocked the world. I shouldn't be using that one. He dominated. This was a dominant performance, and it's so refreshing to see that he won the championship. Because this format, with what happened tonight, it easily could have went the opposite way. We easily could have saw Ty Majeski or Kenny Honeycutt up there win the championship. And it just would have made the Heim's successful season just the missing piece. Now, we got to talk about, late race caution, 3 to go. Heim was going to win the championship. He was far enough out from Ty Majeski. Pit stops, the majority, like Ty Majeski, take 2 tires. Heim takes 4. Heim restarts 10th. Majeski restarts, I think, 3rd. Well, all of a sudden, in that restart, Corey Heim goes 7 wide bottom. He's the bottom truck. Clears them all. Gets side by side with Ty Majeski on the first overtime restart. Majeski clears him. Going to 3 and 4. A caution comes out. And then the restart for our second overtime. Heim was on the outside. Got a great restart. Stayed side by side with Majeski. And then just the newer tires versus Majeski's only 2 new right side tires. Heim was the better truck than Majeski all day. He clears him exiting heading to turn 2, and then finishes off with another lap and a half, and he wins your championship. Yeah, congrats to Corey Heim. We don't know what his future looks like for some reason. It sounds like he's not coming back to the Cup Series. It sounds like he's not returning to the Craftsman Truck Series next year full time. I think he'll be running some part-time races in the 2011 Cup car. Maybe he'll race some races in the Sam Hunt Racing Xfinity Series car part-time. We don't know. And we also don't know with the whole lawsuit going on, what will happen from that. There's a lot of unknowns for Corey Heim, which is still surprising knowing how dominant he's been. We just named off what y'all did, man. But incredible drive. That 7 wide move, insane. He went for it. I thought, man, it was over. There's too many cars and 2 tires. It's 2 laps. He's not going to be able to make a big enough move. But this track we talk about, man, that turns 1 and 2. It's flat, and there's so much space to go, right? He used every bit of that racetrack. It was 7 wide, 7 freaking wide, and he was the bottom truck on the bottom, right against the inside wall, and just the newer tires. And I believe he said he drove it in as deep until about halfway to the turn. Before he lifted, he downshifted going in there, and then he upshifted and built that momentum to get side by side with Majeski. But Majeski did clear him, but it didn't matter as we got another restart. Congrats to Corey Heim. He deserves it. I'm so happy that we're getting a deserving champion. I'm not saying Majeski or Kenny Honeycutt or Tyler Income darn deserving, but they really, I don't like using the word deserving. They would be deserving in the format, because that's what the format doesn't reward greatness, I guess you could say. You don't have to be great to win the championship. You just have to be good enough when it matters most. But Corey Heim was great, and I'm happy that it all worked out and he can enjoy this championship. It was interesting. He was saying in his post-race um, Victory Lane, not Victory Lane, but front stretch interview that he was feeling more relief than he was like actual joy. And I really wanted to ask him. I didn't get a chance to ask him in the post-race presser if this was the most joy he ever felt. After enjoying it. If he was able now. He said it on the front stretch, but I was wondering. Now that it was probably able to soak in. What kind of joy was he actually feeling? You know. But yeah, congrats to Corey Heim. This race, guys. I mean, look, Corey Heim was the best truck. He was the most dominant truck. Ty Majeski wasn't even close to where he was on speed. Now we're talking about this race. Corey Heim was the fastest truck. He was the most dominant truck. Majeski was right there, but he was still not. Like, Heim was faster. Long run, short run. I think it was in stage 2. I want to say that Majeski beat Heim out on a pit stop, and Heim passed it around the restart there, like on the first lap. So you just saw the speed that Heim had versus Majeski. That's how Majeski's all been this year. He's been good, but he hasn't had a lights out truck this year. And that's the thing I will say. Heim last year was good in a lot of tracks, but the short tracks were still where he was lacking, especially like the flat mile tracks. That's where Majeski was good last year. The IRPs, the Richmonds, the Phoenixes. This year, I think Corey Heim really established himself as a really, really just all around. Every track he went to, he was competitive at, even the super speedways, right? Last year, he had those weaknesses on those flatter tracks. He wasn't where the Majeski was last year. I thought Majeski was the guy to be on the short, flat tracks. This year, it was Corey Heim, and you saw it today, how dominant he was here at Phoenix. Heim led 100 laps in the race, which it was a 150 lap race. You add on a couple more laps because of the overtime. Heim won both stages. Yeah, Majeski, like I said, it was right there, but wasn't where he needed to be for Heim to win this championship. But hey, he made a 2-tire stop at the end. Who knows? If Heim doesn't be that aggressive and he gets held up by a couple trucks and Majeski's able to, stay where he was, which he was, and just clear all the trucks out in turn 2, and there's no caution, I think Majeski on those 2 tires wins it. But when Heim got the clean air on the bottom, he didn't have any truck, block him, come up, down to him. There was a chance that Grant Inkfinger actually almost came down, but it looks like he just kind of stayed there. Maybe he didn't want to affect Heim. He didn't want to be a reason that Heim maybe lost his chance to have a chance to win this championship and get the lead. I also want to mention Kenny Honeycutt. The 3 laps to go, caution comes out. He pits for 4 tires. And I thought maybe he would have been right there as well. I thought he was almost maybe at times as fast as Corey Heim, maybe faster, it looked like. But that's probably because he was moving. I mean, he made a mistake. It was on the opening restart. We had a lap 1 crash for Dawson Sutton and a couple of other trucks. But on Phoenix, you see guys, the way it's shaped in turn 4, some guys accidentally, they get out of line before the finish line because there's a dog leg. So everyone cuts the dog leg. And Kane, I think, got a bit for moving out of line before the finish line, so he had to start in the back. Luckily, overall, it didn't really affect whether or not he was going to win or lose the championship. I think he finished where he was. I think he was a top 3 truck. And for the season that Stuart Friesen has had, you got to give him a lot of credit. He got fired going into the Richmond race, which was there was a final race of the playoffs. A final race to get into the playoffs. He got fired by Nice Motorsports because I believe King Honeycutt will be going and racing for Tricon Garage next year. And Stuart Friesen at that same time got injured in a very scary dirt accident, so Stuart Friesen was out. So there was a driver that needed a ride, and a driver in that ride got hurt. So here comes King Honeycutt. And King Honeycutt, I don't know the stats in front of me, but he made the Final 4. I mean, that's all you got to say. He was a consistent driver. He was really good. It just shows the talent that Stuart Friesen has. And not Stuart Friesen, my bad. It just shows the talent that King Honeycutt has. And he's very young. I think King Honeycutt is like 22 years old, so he's going to have a very bright future. And now going to Toyota with Tricon, the defending champions, you know that the trucks that Tricon's going to be bringing are going to be championship caliber trucks for him. Tyler Ingram was the Inter Championship 4 guy. He was probably the worst. Let me just see where he finished. Yeah, he finished 14th, and that's kind of, he ran in the mid 15s. They tried some, late, there was, I think, a caution before the late caution. They tried some different tire, 4 tires on, tried something, but they were just, they were off. They were way off. They weren't even like a top 10 truck. They finished 14th, and that's where I felt like they ran all year. Now, I'm not sure. I have to check on the final restart. I don't have who's all up front, but I think Ingram might have done a 2-tire stop, but I don't want to guarantee it was a 2-tire stop for him. But yeah, just overall for Ingram, I think he had 1 win this year. Yeah, I forget where it was at. I wish I knew. I would have said it was at, I believe it was at Rockingham. Tyler Ingram got his 1 win at Rockingham. It was his first career win. But besides that, he's just been kind of a mid-pack truck. But on consistency, which consistency is probably the most important thing in motorsports, that's why he got the Final Four, on consistency. So congrats to him. And then I just want to highlight some guys. Lane Riggs was 4th in this race. He actually was faster than, I think, Corey Heim there. He was going to win this race if it wasn't for the late race caution. With 3 to go, he puts on 4 tires, but then with the way the restarts, just didn't work out in his favor. Heim passed him. Heim was a leader. But Lane Riggs, man, you need to ask him. But if I was Lane, I'd be like, man, if I just would have got 1 more spot, if he just would have got 2nd over King Honeycutt, because that was a tiebreaker. Last week, the tiebreaker was off of the actual finish at Martinsville. That was the tiebreaker. They were scoring the same amount of points, but the final spot in the Final Four went to King Honeycutt because he finished 2nd at Martinsville. King Honeycutt finished 3rd. No, King Honeycutt finished 2nd at Martinsville. Lane Riggs finished 3rd. Man, I am just getting my drivers mixed up. But yeah, still a good run for him. Ron Chuckaroo in his final race with Spire Motorsports in the Truck Series comes home a top 5. Good. He was a top 5 guy all day. Gotta give credit to him. Now he'll be going over to the Xfinity Series and racing that Prestige, his number 88 for Junior Motorsports. I'm excited to see what Rajah can do in a winning truck. Oh my gosh, not a winning truck, a winning Xfinity Series car, championship caliber Xfinity Series car. This podcast is going okay. I'm just screwing up big time. Oh, what I'm saying. But yeah, those are the guys I wanted to highlight. Cortland Joy came home 7th. Chandler Smith, who was on the pole, came home 8th. Tyler Reif, who's been running a lot of ARCA races, comes home 9th. Give a shout out to him. That's awesome for him. Luke Baldwin, 16th. Really cool. Yeah, I thought this race was solid. It did get a little interesting there when Lane Riggs did pass Corey Heim there in stage 3. Heim was in dirty air. I think Heim at once was accusing Lane Riggs of sandbagging and laying back and trying to get Corey in that dirty air so Majeski can kind of reel him in, but ended up stabling out there, and Corey Heim was going to win this championship until that late caution. And it was a bit hilarious, though, that the fact that, it's just, I thought it was going to be such a Corey Heim type of race in the sense of, of course he loses the championship for a late race caution for the 81. I think the 81 got in the wall. I forget if he blew a tire. I just saw the replay. I didn't see all I saw was on the NASCAR highlights. It already showed the 81 in the wall. It never showed the full replay on the highlights, so I would have to go back and see. I know Scott Zipadelli, who was the crew chief of Corey Heim, was just wishing that 81 got off the racetrack, and because the 81 technically almost jeopardized the Corey Heim's championship. But luckily, Corey Heim, being aggressive, got what he deserved. Yeah, I don't have what type of lead changes that were in this race. I forgot to put that in this episode. But yeah, Overall, that was the Craftsman Truck Series race. The season was dominated by Corey Heim. The most deserving guy got the championship. That's all you can really ask for. Next year will be interesting. I do want to give a shout out to Matt Crafton. This is it. After 25 years of racing in the Craftsman Truck Series, 15 wins, 3 championships, Matt Crafton is retiring. When I started watching back in 2013 was my first full-time season as a kid watching NASCAR. Matt Crafton, to me, it was like the Jimmy Johnson of the Craftsman Truck Series. Because I think he went back-to-back that one year. He was just the most dominant guy and the most consistent guy. And even though I didn't realize he only had 15 wins, but for some reason he must have been winning enough that year that he gave me like Jimmy Johnson vibes. But that was also the same time that Jimmy Johnson was being dominant. So that's probably why I was thinking that he was Jimmy Johnson at that time. But congrats to Matt Crafton. I assume he'll probably run a couple part-time races next year for fun. But he's just, past couple of years, he's just not really been that fast. I don't know if it's him or the trucks or whatever. But they just have not been fast. That 88 truck has not been fast. So congrats to Matt Crafton. Enjoy some time off with your family and enjoy the retirement. But you want to go have some fun. I bet you Thor Sport would love to put him back in the truck here and there. But yeah, that's the Craftsman Truck Series race. It's not as high in depth as I wish. There was the pit stops at the end. I know I do want to bring it up that Corey Heim, they did bring up the pit stalls were very slicky. You talk about the rubber. Scott Zupadelli said that the way these pit stalls are is that there was already some original rubber from another race already on that, and it was kind of slicky in the sense where like when Corey would spin the tires, he was just spinning on the original rubber, so it wasn't really, there was just no fresh new rubber, and there's just no grip. The concrete must have more of a slicker finish to it, as Scott was bringing up, so it makes the pit stalls look, just be more slick, and there's not enough traction, so the tires just don't grip up enough. Because Heim didn't, I would say he lost the lead there in stage 2. I think that's when it was to Majeski, because he just couldn't get out of his box as good. But that's kind of what's been dealing with a bunch of these pit boxes. They've always been known to be slicker. I know I've heard the only thing you can put down on the pit boxes is like Coke syrup. You can't put any like spray or resin down. It's just by NASCAR rules. But they tried to do the best they could, but you can tell it didn't really help with Corey Heim. But like we've been saying, it all worked out, and Corey Heim is your champion. All right, great Craftsman Truck Series season. I'm excited to see what next year unfolds. I think you're going to see King Honeycutt and Lang Riggs be the top dogs next year, because I think if King Honeycutt is going to be in a Tricon truck, and you'll see Lang Riggs back in that front row motorsports truck. Also, Chandler Smith, I'll be curious if he returns in that 38 truck next season. Gio Ruggiero, I do want to bring up him. He won the Rookie of the Year for the Craftsman Truck Series, so congrats to him. Got his one win at Talladega just a couple weeks ago. TRD, Toyota Gazoo Racing, he was the executive there. Has a lot of high praise. Tricon has a lot of hype and high praise for Gio. They believe he's going to be a superstar in this series, so I think after a year, Gio I think is 19 or 18 years old, very young guy, so he has a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity to learn. So I'll look out for Gio next year. He could be a guy that we can see wrap off a couple wins, especially in that Tricon Garage number 17 truck. All right, let's just move on. I want to bring in the Cup Series practice quickly here. Let me see here. I have on my notes. Ty Gibbs was fastest in practice. Ryan Blaney was second fastest. Austin Cindric was third fastest. Ryan Preece, fourth fastest. Denny Hamlin was fifth fastest. So Denny Hamlin was the fastest in the playoff guys. And we keep rolling. There was a lot happening in this practice. A lot of tire issues for guys. Chase Briscoe had a rear tire go down. And James Small said, if I can find the exact quote, he just said, too low in air, too much camber, just too aggressive, James Small says. But he's not worried about it, and they'll adjust on their setup. So don't be worried, 19 fans, about that issue. I thought that's what it was. Low air pressure. You're being aggressive on that. That's probably going to happen. Crew chiefs are always being aggressive. Now, luckily, when he got the tire was flat, it was going into turn one, so he could slow down. It wasn't like in the middle of the turn, and because he went if he went well, really he was in the turn I think when he lost it, and luckily he was slow enough that he could recognize it. It would have been worse if he was going into turn one at a full rate of speed and he blew it, because then you don't know if he goes in the wall and crashes. But then William Byron, I thought, was the most consistently just fast. They had no issues. Hamlin, I think they also were making some changes to the car because of the issues the 19 had. Larson scraped the wall, had a little bit of right side fender damage. So a lot of, there was also a lot of red flags, cautions because of guys. I mean, big crash for AJ Allmendinger. Same thing for Riley Herbst. Daniel Schwartz had a tire going down. I don't know. This is I think there's a new right side tire, so I don't know if it's drivers just being aggressive. Because we know that's kind of what it usually is. It's not because, oh my gosh, the tire is going to fail. It's a terrible tire, doesn't know how to wear, all this kind of stuff. Like what we've heard, in 2008, we had the whole tire debacle at Indianapolis where the tires already last like 15 laps. And I don't think it was this. I think it was just more crew chiefs being aggressive, which that's what they do. They try to figure out the limits, but hopefully don't go too far. And I think James went a little too far, but luckily it didn't cost him. I think we're looking at 10. Ryan really had the best 10 lap consecutive average on speed. Larson, playoff guy, had the second best. William Byron had the third best. And then, let's see here. Who's else? Chase Briscoe. Now I'm making noises so it doesn't sound so awkward. Did he not even run? Let me see here. I don't even think Chase Briscoe ran. Is he not on this name? Yeah, I don't even think Chase Briscoe ever ran 10 laps in this race. I mean, in practice, because his name is not on the 10 best consecutive lap average, because Denny Hamlin was 26th best on 10 lap average on speed. Really, I don't think you can take much from practice. I mean, look, it is probably the where you're going to learn the most because you have the most time to really run laps, be in traffic. You got 3 sets of tires. So you saw a lot of them using those tires up, experimenting with the tires. Qualifying will be fascinating. All 4 of the playoff guys will have the final 4 cars to go out. So I think they're going to all be guaranteed an opportunity to qualify well. The pole, I don't know. The number one pit stall used to always be important because the scoring line used to be like right in front of the pit stall. Now they moved the scoring line towards where the yellow line is to leave pit road, which used to be where like the number one pit stall was a massive advantage because the scoring marker was like right in front of you, so you didn't have to go that far. Now you have to really do a better job of accelerating, so you can get to you have to do a better job of accelerating out of your box to try to maintain that speed. Because you can accelerate and then, like, I don't know, a couple inches, a couple feet later, boom, you're at the scoring marker. Turn number one pit box at Phoenix used to be very, very a big deal if you got it. But that is practice. Tomorrow qualifying will be very fascinating to see when all goes down. It'll be an important qualifying session, the most important qualifying session of the season, but it doesn't sound like, I know Danny Hamlin said, because all 4 of the playoff guys have the final 4 spots, that also means they're going to have the first 4 choices of the pit stalls. So usually qualifying is important for a good pit stall, but I think there's 4 stalls that have entries out of pit road. And there's no active stall in front of them, so I think all 4 guys are going to have a good pit stall, no matter where they qualify, because the top 4 playoff guys get to choose their pit stall. Usually in a regular season race, depending on how you qualify, it's how you pick. But it goes off now when you're in the playoffs. It goes off where you are in the playoff seedings. And then the State of Sport Address happened. It's the annual State of Sport Address. NASCAR talks about a lot of things. The year is when financial. They don't really go financially, but things coming up. They did talk. Steve Phelps, commissioner of NASCAR, had a nice 6 minutes of address talking about the lawsuit. Some financial stuff did come out. There was reports that NASCAR has made over $100 million last year. The base salary for a charter team is like $141,000. There's a lot of financial stuff in there. A lot of people that's really good at math were figuring stuff out. But Steve Phelps kind of just talked about it. They were trying to resolve the matter. NASCAR does not want to deal with the lawsuit. They want to, they don't want. They were really hoping to get a settlement this week so they can just focus on the championship race weekend. But it's not gonna happen. And I think there's a good possibility that we're gonna go and on December 1st, it's gloves off, and now it's on. So it stinks. But I did want to read some stuff. I did highlight some stuff. Bob Bacchus, he was the one that posted about it. But NASCAR says that San Diego race on the Cordell Naval Base is the best pre-sale race by far. I do remember him saying that. That's great. I think the San Diego race is going to be a massive success. Celebrating 250 years of America. It's going to be cool. It's only going to be on an active naval base. The course layout was recently unveiled, and I think Turn 5, I believe, is where you see this massive aircraft carrier. Is it aircraft carrier? Aircraft carrier. On water. Whatever that thing's called. I should know what that thing's called because I live in America, but sadly, I don't. But it's like going to sit right there on Turn 5. Going to be sick. They're going to be on an active strip, runway, which is going to be cool. So I'm excited for San Diego, and it's also great. And they're getting really good pre-sales too. And then Steve O'Donnell, president of NASCAR, says they do plan to make a big swing at the All-Star race, bring something new, bring something cool, try something. Maybe there was talks about doing a run, what you run last year for North Wilkesboro, but it was just too quickly. Teams just weren't really ready to buy into all that, so they chose to not do it. And now I think if you give the teams some chance, some time to get prepared for a run what you run for next season, I think you're going to see one cool and unique race at Dover. And that's good because I think there's a lot of anger over Dover because Dover is like Dover. I love Dover. I live 2 hours away from Dover. It's close to my heart, but there's no lights. It's concrete. The tires only wear after a couple, I don't know, 30, 40 laps. You need long runs. You need long runs for Dover to be good, and also race is a short race. So, but it does give me some hype to see what does NASCAR do for the All-Star race to make it really unique. And then they also, both Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps, did strong races. Suggest that there will be a new format. I don't know. It does. They were kind of bringing up, but it does sound like it's going to be the 3-3-4 for the championship. But we'll see. I think a lot of fans want the full season format. I would get on board with that more because I think you just get the most real and deserving champion. You wouldn't have the possibility of what we almost had last night. Now look, the 3-3-4 where you give the final round 4 races, which you give the teams the most sample size to try to put the best 4 races together to crown our champion, is still better than what we have. But still, like the full season format, I think would make a lot of fans happier. The next thing was actually asked by Jordan Backe. I'm using his post. Steve Phelps on the TV ratings for the Cup Series. Races are down 14% this year, but this figure is exactly where we thought they'd be in year 1 as it shifted to a new model that includes races on streaming and more on cable. So, a lot of people have been negative on their TV ratings. I would agree. It's not a great look, especially this is the first year of a 7-year deal. This new deal had more races on cable. But if this is what NASCAR and their executives expected, I'm not going to be that concerned. But still, if there is stat, I'm not sure if the stats are true, but people say there's less people watching cable now. And when you have a schedule that is heavy on a lot of races on cable and less on big network, that doesn't sound like a good recipe. But I don't have all the stats, the facts. I'm going to trust the big dogs of this sport, the ones that keep it going. I'm going to trust about the two Steves. This is what they expected. That makes me less worried. But, 14% down. 14% down. But I get it. It's still the first year of Prime. People, TNT's back. People are still trying to figure out, CW. People are still trying to figure out where to watch the sport. You have practice on TNT, right, too, as well. Same thing with, you have practice and qualifying on Prime earlier in the year. There's a lot of places you got to go to find stuff. So I think you're right. I think we should just hold the siren for now on this first year. But then if it's still like this in year 2, I think we should have some serious concern about was this TV deal with a more heavier cable contract. The reason they went more cable is because the TV companies are willing to pay more for you to be on their cable stations because people, a lot of those TV companies are trying to build their cable stations up. That's what I've been told, and that's what I hear. This is my last thing I'm going to bring up in the NASCAR State of Sport address. This is the 4th time I'm trying to film this. My phone has ran out of storage for the 4th time. NASCAR says that the new driver incentive program has resulted in this year's NASCAR having 6,000 hours on their driving appearances, up 4% year over year. Really cool to hear that. The DAP was a way for drivers to go out and promote the sport and get paid for it. And that to me is a beautiful thing that NASCAR opened up. Joey Logano was number 1. He got paid, I think, $1 million for it. Now, one thing I will say the main thing I'll say from this is that Joey Logano has a show on 667 NASCAR Radio. And he got a bunch of points, DAP points for that. Denny Hamlin has a podcast on Dirty Mo Media. And guess what? He got no points for that. No DAP points for that. So that's the only thing I'll say. Maybe there's a little bit of favoritism towards Joey's show because it's a NASCAR 667 show. It's a NASCAR run show. So that's the only thing I don't like about it. But besides that, that's awesome. I think the DAP is great. We want to get our drivers out there. We want our drivers promoting. We want our drivers looking like superstars, and this could do that. So really beautiful to see that. Overall, this is the podcast, guys. Denny Hamlin did have some clutch issues during practice I forgot to mention. We'll hear about how that is going, if they fixed it, if it's better. After qualifying, Denny has immediate availability. I'm talking really fast because I'm trying not to have my phone stop recording because of low storage. Overall, thank you guys for watching. Today was day 1 of Crown and Champion. We have Saturday for Xfinity, Sunday for Cup. Let's roll. Woo!